Hey anglers, get ready for big jumps, long runs, and plenty of heart-pounding action.
That's right, Rick. We're chasing the Silver King from the Keys to Boca Grande and beyond. It's tarpon time on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Bree Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, here with one of the most maybe anticipated times of the year and probably your most favorite species, Rick. It's tarpon time.
No doubt, Bree. The poon is my thing, man.
Right?
I really love catching that fish. And I say it every year, you know, 6 foot jumps, 6 foot long, out of a 16-foot boat. You know, all the good stuff comes with it.
Oh, heads up.
But the one thing that we're going to talk about tonight, and you'll hear some of the captains reference it, is how we position the boat to fish a school of fish that's swimming up and down the beach, which we do throughout the whole state of Florida.
We definitely have that figured out. All right, we've got your captains ready and a special guest from Heroes on the Water we're talking with a little bit later, but let's see what's going on over at the CCA workbench with Dave Farrell. Hello, Dave.
We're going to talk about how to position the boat along the beach to the tarpon.
Oh my gosh.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
You're on it, Dave.
Oh, Dave, I'm sorry I took it from you. Oh my goodness.
He's a thief.
It's okay. I'm sure that was his drawing on the easel over there. It's beautiful, Dave. I can't wait. I can't wait to talk to you. All right. Well, we are seeing what your son, Captain Ridge Murphy, who learned from the best, is doing in the Keys with all that tarpon going on. So, Ridge, the Black Oak LED Keys region shines bright. Woo! I'm getting tarpon time talk over here. Go for it.
When it comes to an ultimate inshore fish, in my opinion, tarpon takes the cake. A 6-foot fish that lives in 6 feet of water that you can catch out of a 16-foot boat is the only way that I can describe the Silver King. It's no wonder why anglers will travel from all over the world to fish for this amazing fish here in the Black Oak LED region. Here in the Keys, tarpon can be caught on both sides of the highway, from migratory fish on the ocean or to staging fish in all the bridges like Long Key, Channel 5, Channel 2, 7 Mile, Bahia Honda, including the Key West Harbor, and all the backwater lakes of the lower Keys, all the way up to the backcountry of Islamorada and into the Everglades. They can be caught year-round, but what we like to call tarpon season down here in the Florida Keys is anywhere from April 1st through the end of June. Guys will fish big spinning rods like the Fenwick Pro Elite Heavy Fast with 20 to 60 pound braided line on a 5,500 to 8,000 Penn Slammer or Penn Authority with 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader. Fishing crabs or mullets under a cork in the early mornings and late evenings and into the night in the high current areas like bridges and trenches around them. For the fly guys, anglers are poling for flats looking for them laid up or swimming in the lakes, while others will stake out on the white sand strips anywhere from 3 to 12 feet of water on the ocean waiting for the fish to swim by. Guys are throwing 10 to 12 weight hardy fly rods with scientific angler lines with 30 to 60 pound shock leader. You want to throw bait fish patterns, shrimp patterns, or worm flies in a variety of different colors. Neutral colors are a safe bet. The most important part about targeting these giant pilchards is presentation, presentation, presentation. Anything in front of the fish is a good angle, and try to refrain from throwing over the fish's back where the bait will be coming at the fish. They don't like that, and neither does the guy that's fishing down the line from you. Make sure when you're running from spot to spot to stay way outside of the line that the fish may be swimming down, and if you're not sure, idle or pull in and out of the spots. I have a photo of Mateo DeMarco with his first tarpon that we caught last week in Florida Bay.
Nice, congrats. All right.
Red fishing on the flats of Florida Bay has been pretty good the last few days. Looks like the fish are mudding and tailing on tops of the flats in singles and pairs. You're going to use a 7-foot 6-inch Fenwick HMG medium fast blank rod with an 8 to 10 pound braided line on your Penn reel. You're going to throw Bass Assassin soft plastics in white, pink, chicken on a chain, or slamming chicken, and you're going to rig them weedless on an eagle claw hook. And I have a photo of Alex and Gordo with a nice healthy redfish that was caught with Captain Wiley Berg.
Nice. All right, let's go offshore, bub.
I spoke to Captain Sammy Malazzo off the Vice Versa out of Worldwide Sportsman, and he says that there's a mixed bite of everything offshore, but the most consistent thing is the yellowtails. You're going to anchor up or spot lock in 60 to 90 feet of water, chumming, a mixture of frozen chum, sand, oats, and you're going to use a light tackle Fenwick rod with 10 to 12 pound mono and a small eagle claw hook, or light yellowtail jigs with small chunks of bonita, ballyhoos, shrimps, or silver sides. And remember, grouper season is open, so don't be scared to put a bottom rod down. And I have another photo sent in by Justin Miller off the Real McCoy out of Bud and Mary's with a basket of yellowtails and some nice groupers from the other day. Sammy also says that the mahi fishing's very good right now, and the schoolies from 300 to 700 feet of water on scattered weeds and birds. You're going to troll R&R mahi magnets on your Penn conventional reels, and have a few spinning rods ready with some live baits like pilchards or cigar minnows or cut ballyhoos or chunks of squid. Have an R&R D hooker ready on standby to shake the fish off into the box or overboard if they just happen to be short.
All right, Bub. Good report. Thank you for starting us off this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the scientific angler hotspots from the Florida Keys region. Ridge says, inshore, redfish on the flats, look for singles and doubles on high water and throw bass assassins in soft plastics rigged weedless to these tailing fish. And then offshore, mahis on scattered weeds and birds at 300 to 700 feet of water. Throw live baits on spinners to catch lots of mahis after getting the bites on the troll breed.
All right, Rick, let's dive on in and see what tournaments are going on in the Florida Keys. First, women anglers gathered during 2 days of fishing in the annual Ladies Let's Go Fishing Screamin' Reels Offshore and Inshore Fun Fishing Tournament, May 16th through the 18th in Isla Mirada. Next, teams compete in Key Largo's Skipper's Dolphin Tournament, May 30th through June 1st for over $60,000 in cash prizes, including $25,000 for the team with the highest combined weight of 3 mahi-mahi. Then anglers contend for cash prizes and awards, including $10,000 for the first place boat, June 6th through the 8th at the 32nd Annual Lower Keys Chamber of Commerce Dolphin Tournament. And last but not least, the 39th Annual Father's Day Dolphin Derby takes place June 13th for registration and fishing on June 14th in Marathon, with cash prizes awarded to the top 4 adults based on largest dolphin by weight and rod and reel combos to the top 3 junior anglers. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. Next up is another tarpon hotspot in the Northwest region. So Captain Hag, give us all of your secrets.
Oh, tarpon, Silver King, one of my favorite to chase. I pretty much spend 3 months out of the year strictly fishing for them. Can't ask for a better game fish out there. They jump, gill rattling head shakes, long drag screaming. In my region, they can be caught year-round. We got juveniles that can be caught in residential canals and springs. The major migration is in the summer months, so April through July is the best time to target those big fish. And you can fish them around the bridges, passes, grass flats, spinning, plug, fly gear, baits like crabs, thread fins, pinfish are some of our favorite live baits. As far as flies go, game changers and tan and yellow over the sand, or a cockroach pattern, or purple and black toads and game changers over the grass are great flies for them. As far as artificial baits go, any kind of jerk bait works really well. The juke from Berkeley, as far as a hard bait, works really well for them. As far as etiquette goes when tarpon fishing, a lot of guys tarpon fish on the beach, they fish on the flats. You want to make sure you're not running down that line. Rich was just talking about it a minute ago. And you want to be as stealthy as possible. So the less pressure you put on the fish, the more chances you're going to get to get an eat out of that school of fish. So trolling motors, push poles, quiet approaches. If you don't have either of those, make long drifts or anchor up and wait for the fish to come for you. Another big thing with tarpon fishing, tarpon exert an exorbitant amount of energy when they're fighting. So heavy gear, 50 to 70 pound braid. I'm using the new Penn Authorities and really liking them. You can put a lot of drag on them, anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds of drag. You land them quick, grab yourself a picture real quick. Don't bring them out of the water and just release them. And if you got any structure around you, try not to follow the fish. If you put the fit boat in neutral and let him drag the boat around, he'll tire out a lot quicker and you can land them a lot faster and release that fish healthy. And I've got a couple photos here of some great tarpon we caught this week.
First one,
and
the
a
two guys in
giant
the water.
in the second photo that we caught last night.
Oh man.
Wow. That's a
I had a
stud,
little
Bub.
10-year-old boy in the boat tonight, and I just got off the water, and he landed his first tarpon with his dad helping him.
Wow.
Oh, so
Cool.
Years old. It was awesome.
All right, tell us about some redfish, Bub.
Captain Jim Pollard out of St. Pete reports he's seeing a large increase in slot-sized redfish right now, moving around the oyster bars and barrier islands. Find them all at schools, and you'll find the fish not far away. Cut sardines are working well. 3/0 trocar circle hook, 20-pound Berkeley chrome fluorocarbon has been working for him. And then Captain Jimmy Huddleston up in Ozona Fish Camp reports his redfish bite is remaining strong throughout the summer and spring months. A good amount of mid-slot fish are working the barrier islands and oyster bars in Harry's area too. A few schools of bruisers around, so those oversized ones working the mangrove shorelines on the higher tides. Heavy split shot with a sardine pegged to the bottom or a gulp shrimp on a jig head, just resting on the bottom, is working really good. And I got a photo here from Captain Huddleston with a nice Arizona redfish.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Moving on offshore, Captain Rob Davenport, Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete, reports right now that speckled hind, or the Kitty Mitchell, this beautiful grouper species, is on ledges and hard bottom and 300 feet of water. You want to look for fish around that area. Look for those ledges on your bottom machine. If you use the zoom in mode on your bottom machine and that bottom lock and just do the little 10-foot section of bottom, you can really see those ledges a whole lot better. 4 to 6 feet, of 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 16 ounces of lead, and a 10-aught trocar hook. Dead and live bait are both working well for them. And then Captain Rob also reports out of St. Pete, scamp bite's been still on fire, anywhere from 150 to 175 feet of water, fishing over hard bottom and ledges, 60 to 80-pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 8 ounces of lead, and a 6/0 trocar circle hook's been working well for him. Threadfin, tipped with a little bit of squid, is his go-to bait. And I've got a beautiful scamp photo from Captain Rob.
All right, man. Thank you
pretty.
so much. Great pictures this week, Bub. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Discover Crystal River hotspots from the Northwest region. Jeff says snook is showing up on the beaches and in the past has used sardines for bait, and then offshore red groupers over the flat rock and the ledges in 60 to 120 feet of water use pinfish for the baits.
We just talked about that 10-year-old that just caught his first tarpon. How old was Ridge when he caught his first tarpon? Do you remember?
2.5 or 3.
Oh, well,
He was walking.
he was walking.
Yeah.
Either able to walk or able to reel, especially on a tarpon.
It was daddy hold and crank.
Of course.
You know.
Of course he was 2 or 3.
But it was fun, man.
Of course.
But he caught his first one by himself at 4.
That's amazing. What about Colin?
Colin was 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, Leo's almost there. He'll be 4 this summer.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, coming up, Dave is getting ready to talk all things tarpon over at the CCA workbench for rigs and techniques, right, Dave?
Yeah, I was probably 44 when I caught my first. Tarpon wasn't on my list.
It was last week.
Well, it's going to be today.
I
'cause
wish it
you're
was
talking
last
all
week.
things.
Yeah.
All right, and then we're seeing what the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region has in store for us this Mother's Day weekend with Captain Jimbo Thomas. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. ACR. Less search, more rescue. Scientific Anglers. Failure is not an option. Penn. Let the battle begin. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's in that time in the show when we like to talk about techniques to catch the boon, the tarpon.
Well, you know, he's the fish that pretty much made Florida famous. You know, the Silver King. He really did. You know, people came down, you know, to the east coast of Florida to catch tarpon, and to the Keys to catch tarpon, and ended up catching sailfish and every other thing.
Yeah.
But the tarpon was what, you know, started Florida on its path of being, you know, the destination to go saltwater fishing. So, you know, we've got this incredible game fish, you know, swimming close to the shore. It's spawned whole industries, you know, the flats boat industries, and the inshore stuff.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, you like to chase them up and down the beach a lot.
I love chasing them
sight
throughout the whole
casting.
state of Florida. And I've
Right.
caught them everywhere in Florida. But when we were talking, Dave, when we were talking about the rigs and techniques, the one thing that came to mind is the Keys is pretty stationary. I mean, you'll anchor at a bridge, you know what I mean? You put your baits over, you'll use a crab or you'll use a mullet, depending on the time of year. But the rest of the state, man, these
gotta go
schools
chase
of
'em.
fish, they go down the beach and they're going north or going south, or in Pat's region, they're going east to west.
They're always moving.
And the key is the boat positioning. So remember this, guys, about your boat. So here we are. Here's our beach. We're fishing 9 to 12 feet of water. Here's our new 21-foot chittum. Now, the key, Dave, is you got to remember this. These boats, all the boats, have a pressure wave. Some have less than others. But it's going to create some vibration like this. What I learned from fishing with Pat, and I learned it when I went to fish with Tommy, and I've learned it when I fished with Holiday, is they're all doing the same thing. What they try to do is they got this school of fish that's coming down the beach, going north or south, whichever the time of year. And what they'll do is they use their trolling motor and they get directly in front of that school of fish. Now, as anglers, what we're going to do is we're going to throw one bait. Could be, most cases, this isn't a crab situation. Now, in Pages, you'll throw a crab into a school as they go by, but you can't troll the crab.
Right.
So please remember this, guys. We're talking about trolling, getting in front of a school of fish, a threadfin, a sardine, a mullet. This is the perfect fish for this. You use your trolling motor to stay in front of this fish. And on places where they're very pressured, you're having sometimes to be 150, 175 feet back behind the boat so that they don't feel that pressure wave. They get more relaxed, and then that's when the bite occurs. If your boat is making a lot of noise because you're running the trolling motor fast and it's going up and down, you got a southwest wind on the west coast and you're crashing into it, guess what? Most likely, those poons are gonna know you're there. There's gonna be a lot of hull slap, and guess what? It ain't gonna be as good. So when you do have these boats the technical boats that have reverse chime, doesn't put out the pressure wave, you can get a lot closer to them. That's when the guys are coming in there with the fly rods and they're catching them, when most places they don't even fly fish for them.
Yeah, that 100. I didn't know you guys were fishing 150 to
175 feet. You
That's,
gotta let it back.
That's further back than tunas. There we
Yeah,
go.
man.
So when what kind of baits did you say you were going to be? And what if you were going to throw an artificial bait to one
So
of these?
in here, what you could do is you want to throw, certainly something like this Savage mullet would be perfect. You've got the Gulp, these big
Paddle tails.
Gulp paddle tails. This is, a silver mullet here. I'm going to take this out of the package. Take that out of the I got it.
Paddle shad.
The paddle shad. Tell me this doesn't look like a mullet. And what you can simply do, if you want, you can put a jig head in his face. I like keeping it simple. You can take and put a circle hook in his face. And remember this, guys, when you're doing this, you got to make sure, Dave will confirm this, it's really important to have enough gap of the hook exposed,
right,
so that when the tarpon comes up and bites it, or a snook, this is what you need to remember about circle hook fishing. Make sure the gap in the hook is big enough to where there's plenty of gap exposed so that the hook can hook him in the corner of the mouth.
Right, because that's going to come up to the corner, and we don't want a whole bunch of stuff in that gap to fill up the gap instead of the hooks.
That's
fish's
correct.
Jaw.
Now, in the Bait Saver model by Eagle Claw Trocar, here's an 8.0 for an example. You'll see how this works. So many times the bait hooks back into the fish, the hook hooks back into the fish. But I built this and designed this to have a keeper so that the hook can't slide up and turn back and go into his gills. It sits just like so.
Nice.
And that's what's so cool about the Trocar Bait Saver setup. I like throwing 50 to 80 pound. If it's dirty water like you get sometimes over in Flamingo, you can go up to 80. But if it's not, it's real gin clear, remember, it doesn't happen until you get the bite, so you might have to go down to 40 or even 30.
For your leader.
But with a circle hook, you still have a chance because most likely he's hooked on the outside of his face. 8-foot rod, definitely you got to have it because you can throw a lot further. We're going to load it up with 40 pound X9 braid or X5 braid, and we're going to kill it.
Beautiful.
That
There
was
you
the
go.
fastest 5 minutes of my life.
You said a lot, though.
You did say a lot.
You got a lot out.
A lot of good tips. I hope everyone was taking notes. All right, we're scouring the inlets, beaches, and bridges in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. So, Jimbo, what more do we need to know?
Well, hello, Bree and Rick and Dave. Well, there's no shortage of tarpon here in the Southeast region. We've got resident fish that can be found around throughout the year. And then in February through June, there's a push of migrating tarpon. All of the inlets and their adjoining beaches, those are tarpon hotspots, as well as the deeper holes and the lit bridges of the ICW. Now, their feeding patterns, they do change with the seasons. And right now, a silver dollar-sized live crab is the bait of choice. Then in the winter months, when the shrimp are running, a live shrimp is going to work best. Other popular baits are live pinfish, mullet, topwater and surface lures, jigs, soft plastics, and flies. Typical tackle is 12 to 20 pound with a 60 to 80 pound fluoro leader and a circle hook when you're using live baits. If you're fishing in the inlets and around the bridges, best tarpon fish is going to be early in the morning and then late in the afternoon into the evenings. In the inlets, look for color changes or tide lines or rolling fish and marks on the depth machine. Then you want to drift your live baits through that area. In the inlets, any tide is good as long as you got moving water. Then around the bridges, the fish will usually be feeding along the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Now, this is also the time of the year that schools of migrating tarpon can be found on the outside flats, anywhere from Government Cut south to Angelfish Creek, and they can be baited with live crabs or even with fly tackle using crab pattern flies. Now, the average size tarpon in the Southeast region is in the 40 to 80 pound range, but 100-pound fish or larger are not uncommon. Now, not going too far from the tarpon, there's been some very good snook fishing going on in the inlets, also around the lit bridges and docks of the ICW. Most of the bites are going to be on live baits. Herring and pinfish are favorites, or whatever bait is the most abundant in your area. You want to drift the jetties and the ledges of the inlets using a Jupiter rig. Now, the best fishing is going to be in the evenings and preferably on the outgoing tide. Now, if there's no live bait around, you can try bouncing flare hawk jigs along the bottom or trolling deep diving lures with red head and white body. Seems to work really good. Now, around the bridges and lit docks, drift the live baits or work those artificials through the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Got a couple photos here of our show's, or the show's very own Colin Bukowski, who does a lot of work behind the scenes with the show, and he gets out fishing on his kayak whenever Rick gives him a day off, I guess. Yep. Probably isn't that often. But got a couple pictures of a peacock bass and a grass carp that Colin caught this weekend on his kayak in some of the South Dade canals.
Nice.
Now moving offshore, in the deep water, black grouper along with a few gag grouper are being caught on live baits fished over the reefs and wreck structure in 90 to 250 feet of water. Bait of choice is pinfish, blue runners, grunts, and speedos. You want to fish them near the bottom using a long 80 to 100-pound mono leader and 8.0 to 10.0 circle hooks with enough lead to hold the bottom. Now, aboard the Thomas Flyer, we typically drift over the wrecks, but there's light current anchoring up is a great option as well. Another way to put some grouper in the box is by trolling deep diving lures over the reefs from Hawks Channel on out to the outside reef, anywhere from 15 to the 40-foot range. And with the lures, you want to troll around 4 knots, use 30 to 50-pound tackle, and when you do get a bite, keep that boat moving forward to keep them out of the reef. And if the fish does get back in the reef, you can turn around, get back on top of them, and in most cases, you can get them freed from the bottom. Or you can do what we do, put on the mask and snorkel and go manually pull them out of the reef. Now, the bulk of the groupers caught in the last week have been in the 15 to 25-pound range, so there's some nice ones still left. Haven't caught them all yet. Got a photo here. This is a black grouper that came off of Key Biscayne wreck that ate a live speedo.
Nice.
Now, fishing for blackfin tunas has been getting better by the day, which is typical for this time of the year. Tunas have been hitting live herrings, pilchards, and sardines fished under the kite or flatlined anywhere from 120 to 200 feet of water. Most of these tunas have been in roughly the 15 to 30 pound range. We've been catching them on 20-pound pin spinning tackle with 40-pound fluoro leaders and 5/0 to 6/0 circle hooks. Those tunas, they've been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning and then late in the afternoon just before dark. Or if you have an overcast day, that's when they're going to bite the best. Now lately, down in the Miami area at least, we've been struggling for bait, but if you can find enough bait to live chum with, you can definitely get those tunas going. Now I got another photo. This is a 25-pound tuna that was caught off Key Biscayne while kite fishing.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. Tell all the guys at the fishing club we said hello from the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're gonna take a look at the ACR hotspots from the southeast region. He said look for nighttime tarpon and snook in the inlets and around the lit bridges using both live and artificial baits. And then offshore, fish the edges of the Gulf Stream late in the afternoon with live baits in 100 to 200 foot range for a mixed bag of blackfin tunas, sailfish, and kingfish too.
And the kingfish.
And the kingfish.
All right, well, Rick, here's a good question.
Yes.
Who doesn't want to catch a tarpon? Well, this summer, catch a tarpon and enter it via the Star app in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha, and you might just win a custom Gino LT 25 with a Yamaha. That's right, almost any inshore species can be entered in the custom Gino Inshore division presented by Minn Kota for a shot at winning their share of $500,000 in prizes. Star begins Memorial Day weekend and ends Labor Day for 100 plus days of fishing. But remember, you must be registered for the competition and a CCA member before you hook your catch. So get registered today at ccaflstar.com. And remember, any fish can win. And with that, we're drifting into the Startron Central West and Phillips and Jordan Southwest regions, plus saying hi to our friend from Heroes on the Water. But before we go, we want to head to our website, check out our live studio audience dates coming up this season. Our next one is May 14th, which is next week. So go get signed up and come hang with us on set for filming, fishing, fun, and giveaways, of course. We hope to see you soon, and we will be right back. But remember, we have Ron Houston coming up next, so stay tuned.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Guy Harvey, every purchase helps support the health of our oceans and marine life. Penn, let the battle begin. Kubota, together we do more. And Heroes on the Water, paddle, fish, heal.
Well, guys, as you can see, my good friend Neil Mullaney from Heroes on the Water, the executive director, is here with us. You know, Neil, there may be somebody watching that's not familiar with Heroes on the Water, so why don't we tell them a little bit about our organization?
Absolutely, Rick, appreciate that. So, you know, we all have stressors in our life, and for our military and our first responders in our local communities, those can be really magnified.
Right.
So since 2007, we've been focused on helping these individuals deal with those stresses. And the way we do it, we get them out on the water. We take them fishing. So since 2007, we have helped over 66,000 military veterans, first responders, and another 16,000 of their families deal with those stresses.
And that's essentially what makes Heroes on the Water different, is that we take care of certainly the responders, active, non-active. But you guys have just conducted a study recently. Why don't we tell everybody about the outcome of that?
You've been doing this for a long time, right? 45 plus years.
Yes.
So you know that Mother Nature has just natural healing powers, and there's something special about being out on the water.
Right.
So we all know that, but we've taken it a step further, and for the last 3 years, we've commissioned a study to prove it. And we have found out that over 91% of our participants find that it helps them in their personal relationships. 94% of them say it helps with their own mindfulness, and a whopping 95% say they have gained stress management skills through our programs.
Well, I certainly can feel all of that, because being out there every day certainly helps us. Now, if somebody's watching and they want to help, how can they get involved?
Well, we have over 60 chapters across the United States, so the chances are we are in your or somewhere around your local community. But if not, just reach out to us through our website, heroesonthewater.org, get in touch with us, and we'll get you connected.
So guys, you can be a volunteer. You can certainly be active, non-active, first responders. We certainly need those people to show up and help us. But then more importantly, how else can we make this work?
Well, we provide this for free to our participants, and so it does take money to happen. So they're great sponsors and donors. It's how we make it all work.
And remember this, guys, if you show up, we provide everything. We have the kayaks, we've got the paddles, we've got the volunteers helping, we even feed you lunch.
Absolutely. You don't need to have any skills, you don't need to have any equipment. We're there for you.
All right, man, you did a great job.
Appreciate it.
Bree, I think we need to go so we can get to lunch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here, Neil, and congrats on your snook.
Appreciate it.
This Memorial May, make it a time to remember the heroes who gave everything for our freedom. Heroes on the Water stands with Carry the Load to honor the sacrifices of our military, veterans, first responders, and their families. Walk and fundraise with us. Visit the website to see the Florida relay and rally dates and join or create a team with Heroes on the Water. The tarpon are plentiful and rolling around all over the Star-Tron Central West region. So let's get some more details with Captain Jeff Page. Go for it, Page.
Let's get it rolling. First of all, God bless America, and thank you to all of our veterans for all they do for us. And you know what? In the Star-Tron Central West region, we have no shortage of tarpons, nor do we have shortage of ways to catch them. But probably the most famous part of my region is world-famous Boca Grande Pass, where it's not uncommon to see hundreds of tarpons rolling throughout the day from May right into July. And, just because they're rolling doesn't mean they're always biting, but it is the time of year right now when they bite pretty good. Now, if it's live bait you like using, it's tough to beat live crabs, live thread fins, or live pinfish. Depending on how the fish are acting or how clear the water is, that's going to determine what size leader that you're going to use. It could be as light as 40 pounds fluorocarbon on up to 80. I don't think you really need much more than 80. I hear stories of guys using 100. I think that's a little bit too much. And then it also depends on the water clarity. And then hooks, Rick, you turned me on to them. That 7.0 up to a 9.0 Trocor circle hook is probably one of the better hooks for fishing live bait. Early morning fish are usually a lot easier to get bites from, provided the conditions are calm or semi-calm, and you can present that bait quietly to a laid-up school of fish. After the sun comes up, day warms up, and the fish start moving down the beach. You want to get ahead of the fish. Try to not run them over with your big motor. Stay off them with your trolling motor, best bet, and lead them with your baits and let them arrive upon your bait sitting there. That's why a corked bait, sometimes 5 feet from the cork down to your bait, down to your hook, is not a bad plan because it keeps that bait right in that strike zone. Now, what we also have, we have the outgoing hill tides on the new moon and the full moon, where you can anchor up on the outside of the passes and drift crabs under corks behind your boat, and that's a pretty effective way to catch them. And then fly fishermen like yourself, Rick, they can get up on the sandbars from Boca Grande Pass all the way north to Egmont. There's a sandbar or two at every inlet, and you can get up there and post up, and you'll get shots of small groups of fish. And a little trick you taught me, the lighter the sky, the lighter the fly. So that means early morning or late evening, use darker flies. During that bright time of the day, a light fly like a white or a chartreuse will get the job done. My tarpon photo tonight, that 6-year-old Barrett Day with his dad, Captain Dawson Day, with a Sarasota Gulf of Mexico tarpon.
Nice.
Going into the snook fishing remains really good, Rick. And lots of fish are not only in the bays and passes, but they're out along the beaches. So it's not hard to go out and catch a tarpon and then just slide into the beach. Anywhere there's any down trees, structures, rocks. And I'll give you another tip. Even moss grass in the trough, they'll hold on that moss grass a lot of time, even though it's maybe there one day and gone the next. Those snook will hold on it just like it's a rock or a down tree. Live pilchards, pinfish, grunts, really good baits for out there. And then in the bays, like I said last week, on the higher stages of the tide around the oyster bars and mangrove shorelines, topwater plugs like the Jaywalker in the chrome or the bone pattern have been getting it really done well. And then the subsurface lures like the Juke or the cutter or the stick shad have been doing real well. Again, on the higher stages of the tide, when those fish can be up around the oyster bars or mangrove shorelines. And then the nighttime snook fishing has been really good. Dave Parmalu, the Mad Snooker, has been having some epic nighttime trips from the Venice Jetties north to Blackburn Bridge. My snook picture tonight, that's a young 14-year-old Wyatt Young with a snook he got fishing with his dad, James Young.
You got
Moving
30
offshore.
seconds left, Paige. 30 seconds. Let's go.
Cobia fishing's been really good around the near shore and artificial reefs. Nick Fisher's been doing good south. Billy Ahlstrom to the north. Live pinfish have been the best bet. And I've got a picture with Billy Ahlstrom and Bo Banak with a double down on the brown clowns. And my last fish, red grouper. Some of the offshore captains have had no trouble limiting out 110 to 150 feet. And my picture tonight is a happy client from the Cortez charter boat, Double Trouble.
All right, bub, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Startron Central West region. Captain Page says the tarpon are showing up along the beaches from Gasparilla north to Egmont Key. Live crabs, thread fins, pinfish, free-lined or corked are your best bet. And then offshore, red grouper bite over broken Swiss cheese bottom in 110 to 150 feet of water off of Venice. Use live pinfish as well as cut sardines on a standard bottom rig to get the job done. Come on.
All right, well, head on over to Economy Tackle on May 22nd for a meet and greet with the Director and Brand Development Manager for all Penn products. Captain Jeff Page and Ronnie Houston will be there. Plus, there will be lots of giveaways, including limited amounts of Penn combos, rods, reels, and Savage and Berkeley baits. So make sure you stop on by from 4 to 7. Looks like it's going to be a good event.
I wish I could be there.
I wish you could too. All right, now let's bow to the king in the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region with Captain Ron Houston. Bring us into the weekend, Ronnie.
Well, things are looking good here in the Phillips Jordan Southwest region, I can tell you that. You know, the tarpon, they can be caught throughout the region and actually be caught all year round. Now, really, this is the time of year which is the easiest way to find and catch your tarpons. Now, depending upon our winter, they start showing up on the outer Gulf anywhere from Broad River, late February, early March, and start making their way north to the 10,000 Islands. Then they turn the corner from the beaches of Marco to Fort Myers and finally show up like they are right now on time, early April, May at Boca Grande. Now, truthfully, moderate weather is the best to find these fish and get them to eat. Windy days, they can just totally disappear, gone until the weather gets better. But for the next few months, beaches, passes, and bridge spans are your best, and that's day or night. But most baits used are live crabs, herring, pinfish. On those finicky days, they'll eat cut baits off the bottom, and a variety of artificial swim baits, 5 to 8 inch, as well as flies. And I've got a picture this week of a tarpon release while fishing with On a Mission fishing charters out of Naples. Tarpon are loaded right now off the beaches from here all the way to Boca Grande. Get out and try to find them right now. Inshore, the trout. You know, at the northern part of the region, your lower tide, Pine Island Sound, the West Wall, Bull and Turtle Bay. Want to concentrate on potholes, troughs, and edges using a variety of methods. You can use the walk the dog lures, you can use the Berkeley stick shads, and actually you can use them in both sizes. Noise making corks for the Bass Assassin 4-inch sea shads. Chicken on a chain has probably been the best color, as well as chumming live pilchers. Now down in the southern end of the region, concentrate your efforts right now from Coon Key to Kingston Key. Get on those outer Gulf edges at low tide, especially looking for areas of roaming mullet. Now when the tide does get high, points with current, you want to concentrate on using gold spoons, noise-making corks with soft plastics, and a variety of Berkeley Jaywalkers in chrome or pilchard in color, and you can use the 100 or the one bigger. Either way, they're eating both and the gold spoons. I have a nice picture of a nice trout release in the last couple of days while fishing with Captain Danny Latham up to the north. Offshore report's going to be the groupers. Now, providing the weather remains moderate, plenty of opportunity right now to catch the grouper. And you can start as shallow as 75 feet and get out to 120 throughout the whole region. Now, hard bottom, whether it be big or small, you know, the slower current, tough can be, you know, the bite can be a little bit tough, but the good moving current, once you find them, it doesn't take long to get those limits in that 110 to 130 range. Have a variety of baits like pinfish, herring, or cigar minnows. Trusty old bucktails, wood squid are also getting the job done, but cut baits is best to start with. 100 to 120 depth seems to be the best to get keeper-sized fish in the box. I have a picture of a nice grouper recently caught while fishing with Captain Dave Colson out of Naples. Last species is going to be the permit. Also, providing weather is permissible. Right now, your wrecks, your towers, your artificial reefs, all through the region as close as 5 miles and even out to 30 miles. Indian Key to Wiggins Pass. Don't discount those artificial reefs out in front of Collier County. They're also holding fish. Now, the permits seem to be chewing a little bit better. You know, I talked about 2 weeks ago. It looks like they're in the spawn. Tough to catch these fish. So right now, you want to have live crabs. Haven't been the best bait, either free line or just a little bit of weight, depending on water clarity and what structure you're near. 30 to 60-pound fluorocarbon. Like I say, depending upon how close you are to the structure. And I've got a picture this week, a doubled up with Captains West and Perry Bedell catching some nice permits. And to the gentleman you had on earlier, Rick, for Heroes on the Water, that man's right with that survey. There ain't no better medicine or healing than being on the water.
That's right. Thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region. He says inshore, the redfish, Coon Key to Lossman's River, knocker rig, shrimp, and pilchers use a half-ounce gold spoon and topwater walk the dog lures for those reds. And then offshore, mangrove snapper, wrecks, ledges, artificial reefs, chumming with box chum or live pilchards. Drop back some small cut baits to catch them snappers.
All right, well, I know we're talking tarpon, but Mother's Day weekend
Mother's
is
Day.
coming up, and Dave is on it for some last-minute gift ideas at the CCA Workbench for Taco Marine.
If Mom wants some tarpon rods and some fly fishing stuff, then
Yes.
yeah, she might like this lounge.
She would love that.
She would love
all
She would
of
love
the
the
above.
lounge, I'm sure. I would love the
All
lounge.
right, and then we are getting ready for Tarpon Takeover in the Alto Equipment East region with Captain Mike Holliday. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark.
Well, it's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine's new products here at the CCA Workbench. Dave, let's just jump right in.
Well, we're going to start there with the Scientific Anglers fly lines. We got the Magnitude Textured Tarpon Clear Tip and the Magnitude Smooth Tarpon Full Clear. And, you know, before it was really hard to make clear lines that really held up. They'd get sticky and they wouldn't hold up to hot weather, and they would have a real bad memory to them. So, you know, clear fly lines were always kind of a no-no, even though you'd think that you'd want to have a nice clear line for stealth reasons. So now you can, actually, because of these Scientific Anglers new lines here.
So, you know, when you go into the fly tackle store, there's so many things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so many lines,
just
so many
looking at that
different
box
brands.
and all the little stuff
And
on
it can
there.
be really intimidating. But
Yes.
so here's what I want to show you guys about Scientific Anglers. This is why I'm such a huge fan. Is on the back of the line that you think would work best for you, it shows you the taper. It shows you how long the running line is. It shows you actually how long the weight forward is, and then how much running line is in front of the weight forward. So you may have one rod that's set up with a rod that's designed for a line that's designed for throwing into the wind. So it'll be real heavy with a short taper in the front versus if you're fishing slick, calm conditions for bonefish, guess what? You're going to want something that lays out even further.
Right.
So make sure when you go into your fly tackle store or your fly, store, ask for Scientific Anglers, and then you can do your research based on all the information they provide to you on the back of the box.
Both of those have a 12-foot clear floating tip, and that Duracoat on there that optimizes the slickness and the stiffness and the abrasion resistance, which, you know, heretofore was a hard thing to
And where do we go to get it?
Scientificanglers.com.
All right.
Get all your fly stuff there. Next, we have the Pin Carnage 3 inshore spinning rod. This one is actually specifically made for tarpon action. It's got a lightweight blank, still extremely durable. It's got that SLC2 blank composition where they have a core of carbon fibers and then it's wound up with shorter section of carbon fibers. It's got Fuji K-series tangle-free guides on there with this SIC inserts.
Right.
Slip resistant hydropon. I can't even say that word. Hypalon. That's it. That's the word. Durable rubber.
Hypalon.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a durable rubber gimbal on there.
Right.
Machined aluminum reel seats. It's just a really nice rod. That one will hold 30 to 65 pound braid.
And 8 foot is what you want so that you can get that longer distance.
Long cast.
Yeah. All right.
Next, we have the Fenwick HMG inshore spinning rod.
One of my faves.
Yep. They come
Super
in
light.
7.6, 7 foot, and an 8 foot. I believe that's the 8 foot there.
This is 8 foot.
8 to 17 pound for the medium. Medium heavy is 12 to 25 pounds, and the heavy is 15 to 30. That's a 15 to 30.
Yeah.
High modulus graphite. Fenwick was the first one to ever make one. That's made out of 24 ton graphite blend with the proprietary resins. Makes it really light, very strong. It's probably their best HMG rod that they've ever made.
Right.
Titanium guide frames, zirconium inserts, and a lifetime limited warranty. FenwickFishing.com to get that.
And for mama.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Ocean Tamer Luxury Lounger. Zero gravity design, provides maximum comfort and full body support. I fell on that thing and just about fell asleep. The only thing that kept me awake was knowing that I would have to get out of it.
Yeah.
It's made by hand in the USA. Double stitches all throughout. Sun, saltwater, and sand are no match for that, high quality marine grade material that's made out of. Gives you that total body support. You can put it on your center console. You can put it on your back porch, around your pool. Just a really nice lounger. And, that should actually be my middle name.
Lounger?
Lounger.
Hey, Bree, can you bring me...
Can you bring me something? Anything?
Something, a Cuba Libre or something.
I'm sorry, didn't you say that was for Mama?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's for Papa right now.
Yeah. Ocean-tamer.com.
I'm not going to bring you a Cuba Libre. You bring me a margarita. All right, well,
Okay.
It's Yamaha's Ride the Wave sales event from now until May 21st. 2025, of course. If you purchase a new eligible Yamaha 450 230 HP outboard, get up to 7 years of warranty protection. And if you purchase a new Yamaha 25 to 2.5 HP outboard, you'll receive up to $500 in dealer credit. Make sure you visit your local Yamaha dealer today. All right, the resident fish in the Alto Equipment East region are starting to fill up their inshore haunts, but Captain Mike Holliday says migrating fish are still making their way north along the beaches. Rumor has it 2,000 of them, Mike?
Yeah, there's a giant skull off Palm Beach right now that's getting ready to push its way up. So we should see the start of the oceanside migration any day now. The best action right now is in the rivers, like around the Boy Scout camp, up in the Loxahatchee River, in the Harbor Ridge area, the St. Lucie River, and then in Big and Little Mud Creeks in the Indian River. You'll also find a lot of fish at all the inlets right now. Those are resident fish that are maybe moving out and moving down to Palm Beach to join that school to spawn. A lot of them are on the north side of the inlets. At first light, you'll see them up top and get some shots at them. And when it comes to tarpon, they're basically garbage cans when it comes to what they eat in both size and variety of their food. They'll eat everything from a live shrimp or crab to a live or dead mullet, threadfin, or hornbelly. All that stuff will catch fish. We like to throw artificials. Any of the bait fish patterns, the darker, black and purple in the morning, and then greens, chartreuses, or green and whites during the day is a way to go with flies. Topwater plugs, soft plastics like a saltwater assassin Houdini colored 4-inch sea shad. That's money on the fish up in big mud. You just throw it at the rolling fish, let it sink for a second, 2 or 3 seconds, and then just reel it very slowly. And the bite is kind of a soft tap, set the hook, and it could be a 100-pound fish. Average tarpon in the region right now is anywhere from 20 to 80 pounds. And I got a cool photo that Captain Ed Zyak at Jensen Beach. This is one of 7 fish he caught that day. They were up towards the power plant and using live ballyhoo for bait.
That's a cool picture.
We're starting to see the larger snook push towards the inlets as they focus on the spring mullet run, and they're also chasing sand perch and the whitebait that's getting pushed in the inlets. I'm getting good reports from the Ermine River, the Loxahatchee River, and the St. Lucie River from anglers that are throwing live mullet or topwater plugs on the seawalls at dawn. There's also been a good big fish bite on mullet and live mullet and swimming plugs right in the mouth of Taylor Creek, and then the first 50 yards into Taylor Creek up in Fort Pierce. All the inlets are holding fish right now, but mostly smaller male snook. The bridges like Hope Sound, Jensen Beach Causeway, North Bridge, and Fort Pierce, they're producing the bigger slot and overslot fish, as are the seawalls. You want to target the fish in the inlets with like a copper juice or green hornet colored sea shad, and then around the bridge, the Artemis shads or the flare hawk jigs, the bigger jigs, and those are better on the windy night. Average snook right now 5 to 15 pounds, but fish over 20 pounds are starting to become pretty common. I got a cool shot from Captain Mark Dravo in Fort Pierce. He sent me this nice shot of a nice snook they caught on a topwater plug along the docks of the Indian River Drive.
2 for 2 on the freaking pictures. Good job, bub. Let's go offshore.
Yeah, the blackfin tuna bite has been pretty consistent out of Palm Beach and Jupiter for anglers fishing in 200 to 300 feet of water. There's a tuna tournament this week, so there'll be a lot of crowds on those fish. The fish are most active at dawn and dusk when they're up on the surface, but you can catch them all day. There's also been fish around Push Button Hill off of Stewart and in 220 feet of water off Hope Sound. Start your morning chumming live pilchers, or put up a kite with a jumbo pilcher or thread fin out on 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, and anywhere from a 3.0 to a 6.0 circle hook. And then as the sun gets up, the fish tend to go deep. You can mark them on your sonar and then drop down a bait on a weight, or drop down one of those jigging spoons and do really well. I got a photo from the Salty Days charter boat out of Port St. Lucie. They got this hefty blackfin to eat a live goggle eye, and they were fishing 150 feet of water off Hope Sound. So just get the bait down, you'll get those tunas during the day. The other thing, we're on the building moon in May with a full moon on Monday. That means the mutton snappers are going to be schooling up, getting ready to spawn in places like the 75-foot reef off Lost Tree Village, the Loran Ledge, the 6 and 8 mile reefs, and the Halsey Wreck. Muttons, they also like to hold under those kingfish schools and eat the scraps of baits when the kings cut the baits in half and the scraps sink to the bottom. The best area for that right now is along the ledge in Jupiter, anywhere from 90 to 150 feet of water. And then target the muttons with a 6.0 to 9.0 circle hook, 20 to 50 foot leader, 40-pound fluorocarbon should be able to do the job. Just enough lead to hold bottom for bait. Everything from a live pinfish, sand perch, threadfin, or sardine will work, as does a grunt plug or a ballyhoo plug. And the average mutton right now is 5 to 10 pounds. But there's some big ones, like this one Scott Fawcett got into, Captain Scott Fawcett of Stewart. He got into muttons on the Loran Ledge, and that fish ate a grunt plug.
All right, let's talk about some bass, bub.
Yeah, well, water levels are down 3 feet on the Kissimmee Toho chain. That's really pushing a lot of fish from shore out into the deeper water and concentrating them in the open water areas. I was talking to Captain Steve Nymiller of BassOnline.com. He said it's definitely an early morning bite, and that boaters really need to be careful navigating around the edges of the lake. Start your day working the shell beds in 6 to 8 feet of water, and look for the beds with hydrilla mats surrounding them. And you want to throw a bigger weight or jerk bait, like a 6-inch Bass Assassin Twitch. Put that in bright colors like a sherbert or a native shiner, just something with a little weight to get it down to that shell bed. That's the big fish bite going on. And then for numbers, work the edges of the peppergrass fields with small jerk baits, really small ones, like 3-inch. A good example would be like a 3-inch forward-facing sonar split tail shad, or just a regular shad, or a 6-inch worm rig weedless, and crawl it across the surface. Nymiller this week had 4 fish over 6 pounds, including a 10-pounder, and he said all those fish are full of roe. So the spawn isn't quite over on the Kissimmee Toho chain, but the big fish are still out deep. They have not pushed into the shallows to lay their eggs. We got the full moon on Monday. They ought to come in for that.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says inshore, big trout on the west side of the Indian River north of Harbor Ranch. Use saltwater assassins, sea shads, topwater plugs, and live pilchards. And then offshore, kingfish and bait schools off of Jensen Beach, slow troll, live thread fins, or pilchards on a number 4 wire stinger rig.
All right, if you're cruising around Florida, do it with a cause and rock the Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Your $25 goes straight to supporting clean water, restoring habitats, protecting marine life, and teaching folks about coastal environment. Get yours at your local DMV or online at redfishtag.com. And speaking of CCA and redfish, Rick,
Yesterday,
Where were you yesterday?
we let go 116 mature redfish, 16 to 19 inches, all tagged in Biscayne Bay, continuing to give back to Biscayne Bay here in Miami. It was really neat because it was a part of the Adopt a Redfish program, so we had...
Which we talked about on the show.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
it was so awesome. We had, put 116 back in the bay, all tagged.
Amazing.
And they'll grow, remember this, they grow 1 inch a month.
1 inch a month,
Yeah.
and they're all in Biscayne Bay.
Yeah, man.
Let's go catch them.
Let's
All
go.
right, the Central, East, and Northeast regions are jumping onto your screens coming right up, so keep those lines tight, and we will be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, conserving Florida's fisheries since 1985. Frontrunner Boatworks, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back, everyone. The Central East region is showing a few signs that the Silver King is on his way, so let's see what they are with Captain Jim Ross. Go for it, Jim.
Well, I tell you, Bree, tarpon time is my favorite time of the year, and so it's when tarpon season is coming on, everything just is it's just exciting. The white butterflies start flying across the lagoon, and as soon as you start seeing those things, you're like, oh, it's time. And we have started to see those, and somehow, I don't know how they actually correspond with the first good push of tarpon that migrated into our southeast region, but somehow they do. And, so if you guys and gals are going to chase those tarpon, get out there, grab your pin slammer, 6,500 reel, a handful of 6/0 or 7/0 circle hooks, and, grab some live bait, a live mullet or a pilchard, because the first few weeks of tarpon season are typically the best because the fish aren't quite as pressured and they eat really well. You can also catch them on a 4 to 5 inch suspending plug or a soft plastic lure. The 5-inch Artemis shad or the 7-inch shad assassin that's made by the Bass Assassin Lure Company all are always, top favorites to cast at schooling fish. Now, they'll start rolling up the beaches as well, and of course you can grab a pogie or a mullet and get out there and drag them across their noses, and that way you guys and gals can get a tussle with one of the biggest and baddest fish in our near coastal waters. And I've got a picture of a release from a boat side release that we did for last year on one of those early season tarpon.
Nice.
Now, swinging offshore, the king mackerel action is starting to fire up. So those kingfish are getting on those 70 to 90 foot reefs. The guys out of Port Canaveral on the Fired Up Fishing Charters fleet did a really good job on them last week. They're just pulling some live or frozen baits most of the time on a wire stinger rig. If you get some live baits, that's great, but frozen ones will do just fine. And the mackerel action should be good for the next few months, and the average fish is going to be running about 15 pounds, but we have got some bigger fish that are going to be showing up here as we get farther into the summer. And then coming inshore, black drum. The mangroves are covered right now with black drum throughout many of the residential canals. Those fish have pushed in there looking for shrimp and crabs and sand fleas, and just keep moving along on your trolling motor until you see them laying underneath the branches. Now, some of these fish are 10 to 15 pounds, so you're going to need to tackle up just a little bit. You're going to be close to that structure, so get a 4,000 size pin clash or that 4,000 size pin battle reel and put some 20 or sometimes even 30 pound braid on them, and that'll keep you it'll keep you from getting broke off, and it'll allow you to stop those fish before they can get you up into those danger zones. And I've got a picture here with Captain Mike Mann, who sent me this picture of one that he released recently.
There you go.
Now, my last species is snook, Rick, and of course the snook bite has been really good all year long. It is still incredible right now. I spoke with some anglers this week that had fish to 47 inches in the Indian River Lagoon down near Sebastian. And there are tons and tons of fish in the 25 to 35 inch range in that portion of the intercoastal waterway right now. Live croakers or large mullet seem to be the two best live baits for those really, really big fish. And you want to cast those baits around docks and spoil islands from anywhere from about Vero, Cove, north to about Grant. Those fish are laying all in those areas, and they're at the inlet as well. So if you're up in the north end of the region, you can try Oak Hill to the North Causeway Bridge, especially at night. The larger fish are really biting good at night around the causeway bridges. and live shrimp or finger mullet seem to be working best up there. Now, in the inlets, an R&R flare hawk is normally pretty good, or a saltwater assassin Artemis shad in the pilcher color, or any kind of 5 to 6 inch long suspending plug or lip diving plug that you can work over the top of those rocks and not get down in them. Like I mentioned before, most of the snook are not legal right now, and so you'll have a blast pulling on them, but be careful because you got to put them back in the water quickly. And speaking of getting stuff back in the water quickly, here's a nice picture of Captain Brian Pound sent me. While snook fishing, he got this giant gator trout to strike for his client, and so those big trout are showing up in my region as well, and we're going to talk more about them next week.
All right, bud. Thank you. Great report this week, bub. Missed you on FaceTime or whatever we call it these days, but we're going to go ahead and take. That's right. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspot from the Central East region. My man says inshore fish the docks in Indian River from Turkey Creek to Sebastian River. Use large mullet or live croakers on the circle hook and heavy action pen rod for the snook up to 40 inches. Then offshore. If the ocean is fishable, troll skirted ballyhoos for dolphin near the weed lines and temperature breaks in 120 to 300 foot depths. Concentrate over the reefs like the 21 and 27 fathom ridge.
All right, word on the water in the Northeast region is that we have some tarpon catching makeup sessions to do. Am I hearing that right, Tommy Derringer? Yes, we do, I think.
Okay.
That's the makeup, yeah, it's for sure, Bree. Kind of like Jim was saying, man, I get super excited for tarpon season, and I'm really hoping for a stellar year this year. Last year was definitely a little bit slow for us. That being said, we do have some fish already kind of starting to show up. I've seen a few along the beach and a few of them in the ICW as well. It's really early in the season, though. It's only going to get better as the temperature continues to warm up and the water and the air. We get those big migrating fish. They tend to hang out right along the beach, right behind where the waves break, feeding on pogies. That's during the summer, and then the mullet later in the summer and into the fall. They usually stick around until kind of late September. Now the sharks, man, the sharks are really plentiful, but one really fun way to target tarpon here is to fish behind the shrimp boats. And you're going to run into a lot of sharks anywhere you fish for tarpon here, but there's a ton of them behind the shrimp boats. But hopefully we'll have enough tarpon this year to go along with the sharks, because it's a really fun way to fish for them behind those shrimp boats. Now you can also fish for tarpon around the pogie pods. There's been quite a few pogie pods along the beach this year so far, and that's a really good sign. Hopefully that'll bring the big tarpon in. I like to use a 7 to 10-aught Eagle Claw circle hook and either free line or float a live pogie or a mullet around those bait pods. And you can also fish a bait under the pogie pods. And what I like to do is I'll pinch a few or a couple big split shots just a little bit above the hook, maybe about a foot above the hook, to help get that bait down. And sometimes you get the most tarpon bites under the pod when you're doing that. Now, we've also had some great tarpon hookups tossing. You showed it in Jim's report, that saltwater assassin 5-inch paddle tail to those beach tarpon. You just rig that on a saltwater assassin jig head or a big weedless hook and just lead the fish by a little bit. All you have to do is just straight reel that in and they'll eat the heck out of that thing. Those beach tarpon, they average, 60 to 100 pounds, but we do see fish over even the 150 pound mark. So we get some giants. Now we also have a good population of some smaller tarpon in the canals and some of those bigger or longer creeks throughout the entire region, really. And right now there's a few 10 to probably 30 pound tarpon in the canals and the creeks from Tomoka on up to Palm Coast. Big live shrimp, a mud minnow or a finger mullet, either under a float or free line, are going to work well for those smaller tarpoons, as I like to call them. But I got a photo of a big one here. This is a picture that I took of a tarpon doing tarpon things right there. If you look closely, you can see those two split shots that I was talking about and that Eagle Claw circle hook stuck in right there in his lip.
Nice.
Boom. There it is.
All right, so also, guys, the snook bite inshore has been on fire the past couple of weeks throughout the region. It's really cool that I can say that about the Northeast region. With high tide early in the morning this weekend, it's going to be a perfect time to bust out that Berkeley Jaywalker, the topwater plug. I would say the majority of my snook catches the last couple of years have come off of that plug, especially that color you have in your hand right there, Rick. That's a great one. Now, once it gets bright, that sun gets up a little bit, we've been switching over to the Berkeley stick shad, and it's been pulling some really nice fish as well. And redfish love that thing too. And it can be used somewhat like a topwater, but it'll kind of dive a little bit under the surface And that seems to work well if they don't want to commit to the top water once that sun gets up a little. Now, if I was looking for a snook this weekend, I would go fish from Daytona on up to Palm Coast, target the seawalls, docks, any kind of riprap, especially those ones that are going to be holding some mullet schools. But you know what? That being said, my buddy Eddie Cabler told me he's been on a killer snook bite in the St. Johns River this past couple of weeks near downtown Jacksonville, of all places, for snook. And he sent me this picture. This is the Northeast Florida snook whisperer himself, Eddie Cabler, that's a hefty snook for Jacksonville right there. He caught that on a subsurface plug.
All right, you got to hustle, Tommy.
Now moving offshore, guys. Okay, the mahi bite continues to be good throughout the region. Ocean's been a little more friendly. It's allowing people with smaller boats to get out there and chase them. You're going to want to look for the usual weed lines, the debris, the current edges, all that good stuff. My buddy Captain Jason Hadges said the average size of those mahi has been about 10 pounds, but there's still some 20-pound plus fish out there. And also offshore, Captain Evan Sanders told me that the bite just north of Ponce Inlet is going off right now for the mangrove snapper, amongst other things. There's a lot of good stuff happening, but there's a great mixed bag further offshore. But Captain Evans said that the mangrove snapper bite's been on fire on those structures from 10 to 20 miles out. He's chumming those fish up and then free lining either a chunk of bait or a live shrimp on a really long 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I got one last picture here, guys. This is Will with a nice mango he caught while fishing with Captain Evan Sanders just north of Ponce Inlet. I think it's fish taco time.
It sure is. Thank you so much, Tommy. You did a great job this week. Good pictures and great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Inshore, redfish, snook, trout on the Berkeley topwater plugs in the early morning high tide. Fish the grass edges and any concentration of bait, that's going to catch them. And then offshore, mahis from the ledge all the way to the other side of the Gulf Stream, way on out there.
Way on out there. All right, anglers, get ready for the old school Kingfish Shootout on June 14th in St. Augustine. This family-friendly tournament has a unique format with limited boundaries, no bait penning or buying, and no checkout. The grand prize is a 21-foot yellowfin bay boat with a 200 HP Yamaha and a Ameritrail trailer valued at $125,000, and the early entry fee is only $250 through May 31st. For more details, visit oldschoolkingfish.com. But coming up, we're taking our tarpon travels to the Panhandle region, so get ready to make some accurate casts, and we'll be right back with Captain Pat Deneen. Got your happy sway on. What you doing, right?
Thinking about tarpon fishing.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Fenwick, feel everything. Phillips and Jordan, building critical infrastructure that matters. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Taco Marine, master the catch.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the new Power Pole Vision. The Vision comes in a 7-inch and 12-inch model, and it's the industry's first marine infotainment center built for your boat. Picture it as your phone reimagined for the marine environment. So we solve the issue where your phone overheats. The Vision will not do that. You can see maps and charts all day right here on your dash. You also have access to the 3 million apps on the Play Store. So charting, navigating, whatever your favorite satellite maps are, download them to the Vision and see them better than ever. It's also an entertainment device. So all of your apps like social media, I can take a photo or video with the camera right here, upload it to social media for all my friends and family to enjoy. I can take a Zoom meeting, I can do emails all right here from the Vision. I can even Venmo friends money when they beat me in a fishing tournament, or DoorDash a pizza to the ramp. To learn more about the Power Pole Vision, stay tuned to the next couple episodes, and we're going to take a deep dive into everything that it can do. And that's your Power Pole tip.
Ray, you know what's so crazy about that? If you don't need a sonar, you're a guy that poles on the flats, now you can have everything in that unit. You don't even need to go buy a Garmin.
DoorDash a pizza, like you said. All right, tarpon seem to be a crowd favorite amongst our captains, and our Panhandle region captain, Pat Deneen, is no exception. Talk tarpon to us, Pat.
Bree, I tell you what, tarpon are my favorite inshore fish by far, and for years, the Panhandle has fortunately been off the tarpon radar. A lot of people did not know we caught tarpon up here, but that's not the case anymore. I mean, we have some pretty darn good tarpon fishing, and more tarpon fishermen every year. We catch tarpon year-round. The best tarpon fishing is during the summertime, the months of June and July, and into August, along the beaches as large, mature tarpon migrate east to west along our coast, way to Mississippi and Louisiana. The second best time of the year is going to be the fall, as tarpon in the bays congregate around the deep water bay bridges. And then during the wintertime, juvenile tarpon are in the freshwater creeks. It seems like the darker, more staying in the water, the better. I primarily fish for tarpon on the beaches using live cigar minnows, herrings, and other small fish for bait. But we also do some fly fishing for them as well. And there's a photo of Jim McCree of Phoenix showing off a nice tarpon that we caught last season. Jim's been fishing with me for 20 years now, and it's always fun, and he's good. He's a good angler, and that's a nice tarpon he's got right there.
Sure is.
Yeah, Rick, to tell you what, you know how good it could get up here.
I know.
But staying inshore, Spanish mackerel are still being caught in good numbers inside the bays and inlets and along the coast. Gulf-side schools of Spanish are in the gully between inner and outer bars, as well as just beyond the second bar. The beaches of Shell Island and Okaloosa Island, just west of Destin Pass, are good places to find Spanish. And trolling bubble rigs and Christmas tree rigs are one of the best ways to quickly catch them. But cast and gotcha-style lures and spoons can be just as effective, especially once you have the Spanish located. In the bayside, a nice grade of Spanish are being caught by chumming the channel edges and the grassy roll-downs with live pilchards or menhaden, and then either free-lining their bait or fishing with a bait under a cork. And there's a photo of Troy Garrett. He sent me this from here locally, from Fort Walton Beach, showing off a nice Spanish he caught recently off Okaloosa Island Pier, casting bubble rigs and jigs. And Troy said that morning the Spanish were chewing the pilings down. He caught a whole ton of them. Moving offshore, but staying with the mackerel theme, the king mackerel fishing still remains really good. And that's good news for the charter industry. The king mackerels are awesome for the 4-hour charter. You catch them by slow trolling live baits. It's the best way to catch them, with the best catches being by having a couple baits on the surface and at least one, but better yet, 2 baits fished deep with a downrigger or a planer. Cigar minnows and herrings are probably the baits of choice, but blue runners or small bluefish can also do real well, or ribbon fish if you can find them. Any structure in 60 to 90 feet of water holding bait is a great place to find some king mackerels, and the kings are running 12 to 20 pounds right now. And then finally, offshore, amberjacks are obliging for those that want to do some catch and release fishing. The amberjacks are still closed, but they're numerous. They're on the wrecks in 80 to 200 feet of water. But I really like to fish for them on the shallower spots where you can tease them up to the surface using poppers and chuggers. Most folks fish for them with live baits, free-lined over the shallow spots, or weighted live baits, using Carolina rigs on the deeper spots. Frisky hardtails are the #1 bait of choice. You can catch your blue runners on sabiki rigs and jigs just outside the jetties and along the buoy lines in the morning. And a hooked up amberjack fires up the other amberjack. So keep baits fishing while fighting the fish. The amberjacks are running up to and over 20 pounds, and there's a photo of a nice amberjack caught and released this past week while fishing with rooster tail charters out of Pensacola, Florida.
All right,
so
Pat.
That's a great sport right now, Rick.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the heroes on the water hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says the big trout in North Bay working the spotty grass flats in 2 to 4 feet of water. Early morning is best, and then offshore, plenty of vermilion snappers being caught off natural bottom in 150 to 230 feet of water. Try 2-hook rig and cut bait. You can tell I'm out of gas.
You're out of gas.
I got up at 2:30 this morning to take Heroes in the Water Neil fishing. He caught his first snook.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm officially done. I'm
officially
out of gas.
done.
I hope I can make it home.
I hope you can too. But you know what? That's great timing, because what a weekend we've prepared for you. And may the tarpon be with you. But stay with us for your Seize the Social and find out what we're reeling in next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We'll be right back. All right, next week we are talking tuna.
Tunas.
That's gonna be a good one. And we have our live studio audience, so make sure you sign up for that. But now it is time to Seize the Social, where we show off big catches and all out fishing fun from across social media. So from the coast to the lakes and the creeks, here is what we've been reeling in this week. Let's see it.
What is it?
Let's see.
Right,
Let's
this
see.
is the
Okay, that's a hot
NLBN
dog. That's a hot dog, fellas. I think, right? Is that
Oscar
an?
Mayer,
That's the hot dog pitch.
No, come on.
What are we doing?
Oh, come
Yeah.
on.
There's no way. What do you think you got?
Dude.
I'm gonna go with a
Snapper.
snapper.
Oh yeah, big boy. Look at that.
Gotta be a big snapper.
Are you kidding?
It's a grouper.
The NLBN baby.
Grouper?
Hot dog.
Come
What is that,
on.
probably
You know
30
what?
inch?
When they eat that grouper, I
Close
think
to
they
it?
should put in a hot
I saw a
dog
guy
bun.
catch a white
You know
marlin
what?
on a hot dog.
You know what? If
What?
you put mustard on there, it would have been a yellowfin grouper.
Yeah, there you go.
Must have been.
Okay.
That's what you do instead of putting a tag in them. You spread the mustard on them.
That was good. You think that was real?
Yeah, it was real.
Yeah,
you saw
you
it.
didn't- well,
Isn't everything
there's
on
the
Instagram
art
or
of-
any social?
The
Isn't
art
it
of
all real?
editing.
It's all
Could you
real.
catch a
It's all
grouper in a
real.
hot dog?
Everybody else thinks everything's real.
I think we should try it.
All right.
All right, you got a reel that made you laugh, gasp, or want to grab a rod? Send us your favorite fishing or ocean video, and you might see it right here on Seize the Social. To submit, scan the QR code or drop them in our DMs. Gentlemen, you get to go home and go night-night.
Bree, you got the Mama Day
Oh,
coming.
yeah. Mother's Day. Here
Mother's
we
Day
go.
coming
Happy
up.
Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I hope you're on the water enjoying a wonderful Sunday. Treat Kathy right. Treat Lori right. See you next
Happy
week.
Mother's Day, Kathy.
She say, I ain't your mama. That's what my wife says.
Probably is.